Hello, this is Mr. Henry, and welcome to lesson 5.5. Today we're talking about parallel and perpendicular lines. So the central question says, how do I write equations of parallel and perpendicular lines? So we have our two get the goofs here. In each problem, what they want you to do is they give you an equation, and they ask you to write two equations that are equivalent. So we want to know, are these two equations equivalent to that one? So the first one here says 9x minus 36y equals 27. Well, it looks like what they tried to do was take a times by 2. Because 9 times 2 is 18. 36 times 2 is almost right. It should actually be 72. But this one they've completely forgot to times by 2. And 27 times by 2 is 54. Let's see. Second one. This looks like a divide by 3, because 9 divided by 3 is this. 36 divided by 3 is 12. And 27 divided by 3 is 9. So that one's actually correct, completely correct. Second problem here. Well, 5 is half of 10, so my guess is divide by 2. That's divide by 2. That is divide by 2. And again, they forgot this one on the other side. You got to divide this guy by 2 as well. So 22 divided by 2 gives you this negative 11. And finally, this one here looks like they doubled. So times by 2 is 20. Times by 2 should be a 12. And times by 2 is negative 44. Okay? So these were practice writing equivalent equations in standard form. Today's lesson, we've got two vocabulary words. We've got perpendicular lines and parallel lines. If you remember from way back when you talk about geometry, perpendicular lines are two lines in the same plane that intersect to form a right angle. Basically, it means it's two lines that crisscross and they make a 90-degree angle. I mean, they could be straight up and down like this. They could be kind of slanty like this. And that was horrible. Whoa, what happened? There's that one. Or if you have something like that, it still makes a 90-degree angle. These lines are perpendicular. Think of like a doorway. That corner is a perfect 90-degree angle. So those two lines that are intersecting there are perpendicular. The opposite of that is parallel lines. Parallel lines are two lines that have the same angle. You might think of them as like train tracks. They always run side by side. They never get closer together. They never get farther apart. If they do, then the train's not going to be able to stay on the tracks very well. They have to stay perfectly parallel. So it's two lines that have the same angle, and they could be, flat. They could be up and down. They could be sideways. Doesn't matter what angle they're at. What matters is that they're always both going the same exact direction. One's just higher up than the other. Okay? So the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to write the equation of a parallel line. So here it says write an equation of a line that passes through -3, -5, and is parallel to the line y equals, come on, oh well, parallel to this line y equals 3x minus 1. So let me first write down the line. Y equals 3x minus 1. Okay? Alright, I did some movie magic there to make this look a little bit prettier. So now we did our line y equals 3x minus 1. And we want a line parallel to this that goes through this point. Now the key thing to remember about parallel is they have the same slope. So what we know is I know I want some line, that's a line, right? Slope-intercept form, that has this as the y value, this as the x value, and the same slope as this line. Well, the slope here was 3. So we want the same slope. If you remember before, we did problems like this back when we were talking about slope-intercept form, where we have a point given and they give us a slope and they want us to find the other missing value. Well, that's all this is. We plugged in our y value, plugged in our x value, plugged in our slope. We have one variable, which means we can solve for it. So let's do that. 3 times negative 3 is a negative 9. The way we get rid of this negative 9 is we're going to add 9 to both sides. And we get, over here someplace, b equals, and negative 5 plus 9 is a positive 4. So now I know that this line goes through the y-intercept at 4. So the equation of the line would be y equals, same slope as up here. We want the same slope because it's parallel. But the intercept is a positive 4. That's the equation of this line. Parallel has the same slope. So I used that slope and the point they give me to find the intercept, and I just plugged it back into the equation using the same slope and the new intercept. Okay? Letter B. Write an equation of the line that passes through that point and parallel to that line. So again, we want this is going to be the slope of our new line. Because they're parallel, they have the same slope. And this point. So y equals mx plus b. Y value is negative 4. Slope is negative 2 from here. X value is negative 3. And I do not know the intercept. Do some math here. We get 6 plus b equals a negative 4. Solve this guy for b. Get the b by itself. So we're going to subtract 6. Subtract 6, and b equals a negative 10. So that means the equation of this line, slope, negative 2. It's our slope from here. Intercept is negative 10. So y equals negative 2x and our negative 10 for our intercept. That's the equation of that line. I'd like you to try problems similar to that. Here is letter C. Go ahead, pause the video right now, try the problem out, hit play if you get stuck, need some help, or if you're done, you want to check through, make sure you did all right. Okay, you should have done the problem by now, so let's see. Slope is negative 1. There's my point. So I use y equals mx plus b. Y value is 6. Slope is negative 1. X value is 2. I do not know the b, so we're going to solve. Simplifying that gives you 2. Solving, we need to add 2 to both sides. And b equals 8. So now that's the intercept. So I'm going to use the same slope, which is negative 1, and my new intercept, and that's the line that's parallel to this one, but going through this point. It's parallel because they have the same slope of negative 1. Pretty easy so far. There's one more problem I'd like you to try from your textbook. This is number 1 from page 319. Go ahead, pause the video, try it out, hit play when you're ready. Okay, so let's see how you did. Slope we have here is negative 1 again, and there's our point. So y equals mx plus b. The slope is negative 1 from here. The x value we're going to use is negative 2. The y value we're going to use is 11. And we got to find the b, the intercept. So math this up a little bit. We got 2 plus b equals 11. Solve it. Minus 2. Minus 2. B equals 9. Now we just rewrite it using our new intercept and our slope. So y equals, our slope was negative 1. Our intercept is a positive 9. And that's the equation of the line. Not too bad so far. Not too bad at all. Here is example 2. It says we want to determine which of the following lines, if any, are parallel or perpendicular. So let's start with finding our slopes. Now, the one thing we didn't talk about yet is how can you tell if two lines are perpendicular? We said that it means that they cross to form right angles, but what does that mean as far as their slopes go? Well, if two lines are perpendicular, well, first off, let's do parallel. We'll make little notes here. Parallel means same slope. Perpendicular, on the other hand, means that their slopes are the negative reciprocals. Actually, it's the opposite reciprocal. I can't spell. Reciprocal. So it's the opposite reciprocal. If you don't remember reciprocal, that's when you have a fraction and you flip it upside down. So 4/3 is the reciprocal of 3/4. So the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to find the slope of these three lines, and then we'll figure out parallel or perpendicular. So let's find slope. So line A here, well, y equals mx plus b. The slope is 6. Simple enough. Y equals mx plus b. Now, there is no plus b. That just means that the intercept here is 0. So the slope is this negative 1/6. And finally, line C, the slope is the negative 6. All right, first off, are any of the slopes the same? No. So none of the lines here are parallel. The next thing we got to figure out is, are any of the slopes the opposite reciprocal? Opposite means they have different signs. So this one's positive, these two are negative. So this one is opposite of those two. We need the opposite reciprocal. The reciprocal is the upside down flip. So if you took this as a fraction and flipped it upside down, you would get 1/6. So this slope here and this slope here are opposite reciprocals. They have different signs, positive, negative, and they're reciprocals of each other. So we can say that line A and B are perpendicular. Line A and B are perpendicular because their slopes are opposite reciprocals. Parallel have the same slope. Perpendicular have opposite reciprocal slopes. Let's try another one. Here's letter B. Same deal. We're going to find the slope. So this is y equals mx plus b. So we have to rewrite this a little bit because we want it to look like slope-intercept form. So to rewrite this, actually all we really have to do is flip-flop these two terms. Y equals our negative 5x plus 4. So the slope here would be negative 5. This one takes a bit more work. Because again, we want this y equals mx plus b thing, but we need to have y on one side and everything else on the other. So we need to get rid of this 5x. So if we subtract 5x on both sides, these cancel out. We get y equals our negative 5x plus 3. That's slope-intercept form. And in this case, our slope is this negative 5. And let's do letter C. Again, we want it to look like this. We have to get rid of this x term so we get the y variable by itself. So if we add 1/5 x to both sides, we get y equals, because this is gone, y equals a positive 1/5 x plus 4. And so the slope here would be this 1/5. Alright, so let's see what we have. Parallel line means the signs or the slopes are exactly the same. Well, A and B have the exact same slope. So A and B are parallel. But this guy, 1/5, is the opposite reciprocal of -5ths. I mean, it's opposite because the signs are different. And it's the reciprocal because if you take 5 as a fraction and you flip it upside down, you're going to get 1/5. So this 1/5, this line C, is perpendicular to these. To A and B. So A and B are parallel. They're running the same direction. Line C is perpendicular to both of those. It would run crisscross from them. I mean, for example, these two lines here have a slope of -5. This line has a slope of positive 1/5. So it'd crisscross both of them, something like that. Letter C, same deal. I want you to find the slopes. You might have to rewrite the equations like we did. Find the slopes and see which are parallel, which are perpendicular. Take a minute, pause the video, do it right now. When you're ready, hit play and we'll go through it together. Okay, so let's see what we got here. Line A. We've got to solve this for y. Ooh, there's actually a typo here. Let me fix the typo quick. This should be 4x. Yeah. So if you got stuck on that one because that was a y and it should have been an x, retry the problem now because it should be 4x. But we're going to continue. If you need to pause the video to do it, do that now. But we're going on. So we would need to solve this for y. So we're going to subtract 4x on both sides, giving us -6y equals -4x plus 8. Get the y by itself, so divide by -6. These cancel. We get y equals 2/3 x. Again, if this does not divide evenly, which it doesn't, because if you take 4 divided by 6, you get a decimal. So simplify the fraction. Same thing over here. 8 divided by 6 does not divide evenly. 8 divide 6. See? So we're going to leave it as a mixed number. It'll be a -4/3. So the slope out of this was 2/3. Okay, line B. Again, that's really the only piece we needed. We needed that slope. Line B. It's already in slope-intercept form. Y equals x thingy plus b. So our slope here is -2/3. And now we have to do line C. So let's see. Well, we have to get the y by itself. So we're going to have to subtract the 2x on both sides. So you get 3y equals -2x minus 15. Divide by 3 on both sides. We get y equals, this does not divide evenly, so we're going to get -2/3 x minus 5. And the slope out of this is this -2/3. Okay, so Now we've found the slope for each of them. Which of them either have the same exact slopes or opposite reciprocal slopes? Well, I see line B and C have the exact same, both negative 2/3. So we could say line B and C are parallel. And this is not the opposite reciprocal. They are opposites because this is positive and those two are negative, but it's not the reciprocal. The reciprocal would be, of these, would be 3/2. So it's just those two are parallel, and that's it. A little confusing. The main idea here again is, or the hardest part about this problem, I believe, is actually solving for y, getting and finding the slopes. Once you find the slopes, the rest is pretty easy. Parallel lines have the exact same slope. Perpendicular lines have opposite reciprocal slopes. Like, for example, these are opposite reciprocals. But there's one problem out of the textbook I'd like you to try here, please. This comes from page 320, number 2. Go ahead and pause the video now, do it, and when you're ready, hit play, and we will continue. Okay, so let's see how you did. We'll use black here, and we want to solve for y. So I'm going to subtract 2x, get 6y equals negative 2x plus 3. Divide by 6 on both sides. These cancel out. Y equals. This does not divide evenly, so I just leave it as a simplified fraction. So the slope is negative 1/3. That's line A. Line B. Ooh, lucky us. It's already y equals. So we can skip straight down here. Slope equals 3. And line C, ugly decimals, but not hard. Well, maybe hard, we'll see. We need to get the y by itself, so we have to get rid of this x term. So we're going to subtract 4.5x. We get negative 1.5y equals negative 4.5x plus 6. Divide by negative 1.5, divide by negative 1.5. These cancel. We get y equals 4.5 divided by 1.5 is 3, but just so you can see it, 4.5 negative divided by 1.5 negative equals 3 x. And 6 divided by negative 1.5 is going to be a negative 5. 4. Negative 4. Alright, so now we got a slope. Here is the 3. Alright, so what do we have? Well, we have lines B and C are parallel because they have the same slope. So line B and C are parallel because they have the same slope. Now, is this guy the opposite reciprocal of that? And the answer is yes, it is. The opposite because this one's negative and that one's positive, so they are opposites. Reciprocal. If you took this 3/1 and you flipped it upside down, I'm sorry, if you take this 1/3 and you flip it upside down, you're going to get 3/1. That's what that is as a fraction. So line A is perpendicular to that. To B and C. So B and C are parallel. They're running the same direction. Line A cuts across them and is perpendicular to both of them. Example 3. Here it wants us to write an equation of a perpendicular line. Okay, perpendicular has the opposite reciprocal slope. So it gives us an equation. It says write an equation of the line that passes through that point and is perpendicular to that line. Okay, so first things first. What is the new slope we want? The new slope we want is this slope, but with a different sign and upside down. So the different sign of this, instead of being negative, it's going to be positive. And instead of being 1 over 3, it's going to be 3 over 1, which is just 3. So this is the slope we want, 3. And they gave us a point with an x and a y, just like we've done before, so watch this. Let me write this out. Plus b, plug in my y value. Boom, it's 1. My new slope is 3. My x value is negative 2. And now I just find what my b is. I just have to solve this equation with one variable, which I can do. We've done it like 3 times already today. So 3 times 2 is, well, negative 2 is negative 6. Add 6 to both sides. These cancel out. B equals 7. That's my b. Last thing we do is we just rewrite it. So y equals, slope is 3. Intercept is a positive 7. Boom. That line there is perpendicular to this line. So they're going to crisscross at a 90-degree angle. This line looks kind of like this. This line has a slope of positive 3, like that. So they're going to crisscross. And our new line goes through that point. You're plugging in the values you know and finding the missing piece. Okay. Letter B. Same deal, we need to write the equation of the line that goes through this point and is perpendicular to that line. So the first thing we need to do is we need to find what is our new slope. Our new slope is going to be the opposite reciprocal of this slope. That has a slope of negative 1. See, it's negative 1x. Well, the opposite sign of that is going to be positive. And if you take this as a fraction, you flip it upside down, you're still going to get 1 over 1. So our new slope is going to be a positive 1. That's the new slope. Okay, so our new slope is 1. Using our x and y values, the x value is 3, the y value is 2, we need to find what is the b. We'll solve that thing. 1 times 3 is 3. The way you get rid of a plus 3 is you minus 3. B equals negative 1. And last thing, we just rewrite the darn thing. So y equals, our slope is 1. X, our intercept is a negative 1. This line is perpendicular to that line because they have the opposite reciprocal slopes, and this line goes through that point. Last thing you need to do is, well, we've got this problem, C. Write the equation of the line that passes through the point 5, 0 and is perpendicular to the line 2/3 x minus 4. Go ahead, pause the video, try that problem on your own. When you're ready to continue, hit play and we'll go through it together. Okay, so let's see. The old slope is 2/3. So the new slope, upside down of that, is 3 over 2. And the opposite, this is positive, so the opposite is negative. This is the new slope, a negative 3 over 2. So we write down the equation y equals, mx plus b at first. Y equals, not y anymore. The slope m is negative 3 over 2. The y value is 0. The x value is 5. And we don't know the b. So let's do this. 3 3 over 2 times by 5. It's going to give us negative 7.5. 3 times 5 divided by 2, and it's negative. Negative 7.5 plus b equals 0. The way we get rid of this negative 7.5 is we add 7.5 to both sides, and we got b equals 7.5. So then we just rewrite the thing. We just plug in y equals, our slope is negative 3 over 2, x, and our intercept is a positive 7.5. And we're done. Okay. The last thing we have is 2 questions from the textbook. Page 321, numbers 3 and 4. Go ahead, do these 2 problems. Do as much as you can on your own. If you need some help, go back and watch some parts of the video again. When you're ready to continue, hit play, and we'll go through it together. Okay, let's see how we did. Number 3. Line A is line A perpendicular to line B? So we want to know, is this line perpendicular to that line? Perpendicular means they have the opposite reciprocal slopes. So let's see. We need to find the slope of this and the slope of that. So this line, 2y plus x equals negative 12. To find the slope, we have to get the y by itself. So I'm going to subtract x. 2y equals negative x minus 12. Divide by 2, divide by 2, y equals negative 1/2 x. Again, there's negative 1 there, and 1 divided by 2 does not come out evenly, so leave it as a fraction. Minus 6. Slope is negative 1/2. That's line A. Line B is 2y equals 3x minus 8. To solve for y, we divide by 2. These cancel. Y equals 3 over 2 x minus 4. So the slope over here is 3 over 2. Are those 2 slopes opposite reciprocals? No. They're opposites. One's positive, this guy's positive, this guy is negative, but they're not reciprocals. This fraction is not the upside down of that fraction. So they are not perpendicular. Is line A perpendicular to line B? No. Their slopes are not the reciprocals. It has to be the opposite reciprocal. Just opposite is not good enough. Number 4. Get out of here. Number 4. It says write an equation of the line that passes through this point and is perpendicular to that line. Okay. So like we did before, we need to find our new slope, which is the opposite reciprocal of that. So the opposite of that is a negative, because it's positive. The reciprocal of 4, well, 4 as a fraction is 4 over 1. If you flip that, you get 1/4. That's the new slope. We have a different sign, and we're upside down of that. So then we use our equation, y equals mx plus b. We plug in our new slope. We plug in our x value. We plug in our y value, and we have one variable left, so we solve for it. We take negative 1/4 times 4 is negative 1. You then add 1 to both sides. B equals 4. So now we have our new intercept. So we have our slope, we have our intercept. Let's just rewrite the thing. Y equals negative 1/4 x plus 4. And we're done. Okay? Summary. How do I write equations of parallel and perpendicular lines? So what's the trick to write an equation of lines that are parallel, and what's the trick for writing equation lines that are perpendicular. Take a minute or two, pause the video if you need to, write down your answer. If you cannot write your answer because you don't know, it means you really did not understand the point of the lesson. Might be a good idea to go back and look at some more resources, watch the video again, check out some other videos on YouTube. But that, if you can't answer it, you missed the point of the lesson. Pause the video, see if you can write an answer. Okay, so how do I write the equations of parallel and perpendicular lines? Well, parallel lines have the same slope. And since they have the same slope, you would plug that in and plug in a point if they give you and find the intercept, all that good stuff that we did. So parallel lines have the same slope. Perpendicular lines, have the opposite reciprocal slopes. So, for example, 3 and negative 1/3 are opposite reciprocals. They're different signs, and this guy, if you'd flip it upside down as a fraction, would be that guy. And there is the homework. Homework comes from page 322, numbers 1 through 3, 5 through 23 odds, so just 5, 7, 9, 11, those guys, and then 32 and 34. Thank you for watching. This has been lesson 5.5.